Now let's do our pop method. Let's bring up our stack like this. Pop is going to be the removal of that top node, and then you have the top pointer point at the next node down. And then, of course, we're going to return that node that we popped from the stack. And then we also have to code for this situation where we don't have any items in the stack. So if you're going to code this, go ahead and pause it here. Otherwise, I will get into the code. So we'll start this off like this. We'll say pop. We don't pass it any arguments. And we'll code for this situation where we have an empty stack first. We'll say if the height is 0, we'll return none. Otherwise, we do have items in the stack like this, and we want to return that top node. So we're going to need a variable to point to it. So we'll say temp equals self.top, like that. Once we've done that, we can move top down to the next node. So we'll say top equals top dot next, and that moves that down. So now we need to remove that node from the stack. So we'll say temp.next equals none. That is temp.next equals none. And that removes that from the stack. Now let's look at this in with the rest of our code like this. And the only things left to do are to decrement the length by 1, and then we'll return temp. And that is our pop method. So we'll look at this code in a moment in VS Code. And when we do, we will build this stack. We'll print this out to make sure it's printing out correctly. Then we'll pop this item off here, take a look at that item that we popped off, and then we'll print out the linked list with the items remaining, and we should have 3, 23, and 7. Okay, so let's flip over to VS Code. So there is our pop method there, and this builds the stack that we just looked at. And then we're going to start off by printing it out with this line here, print stack, and I'll run this. And that prints out our stack 11, 3, 23, and 7. And then what I'm going to do is in between where we created our stack and where we printed our stack, I'm going to insert this line of code. So we're going to print myStack.pop here, and then we have a line break after it. And then down here, we're going to print out the items that are left on the stack after we have popped that item off. And I'm going to run that. So this is the node that we popped off, and the stack now has 3, 23, and 7. And to take a look at what's in that node, I'm going to come up here. I'm going to type temp.value, and now I'll run it again. And now you can see that the node that we popped from the stack is the 11 node. So of course I'll come back up here and remove the dot value here. So we're just returning temp, so we return the entire node. All right, and that is our method for pop.